How you doing, everybody? I'm Jim Ladd. My thanks to Gary Moore. And welcome to a very special show here tonight on 95.5 KLOS. My guest signed her first record deal as a 14-year-old fiddle player from Champaign, Illinois, and has gone on to become one of the most celebrated voices in the history of music. From bluegrass to pop to country to rock and roll, Alison Krauss can do it all in what seems to be an effortless segue from one genre to another and back again. Her voice can be lilting at one moment and soaring the next, but it is her unique ability to make a song her own with a passion and a credibility that has endeared her to millions of people around the world and garnered her the most Grammy Awards for any female artist in history. Tonight, you will meet this extraordinary talent as we welcome Alison Krauss. Alison Krauss, my love follows you where you go. Lord have mercy. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
Alison, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
It's so nice to have you here.
Glad to be here. Thank you.
You were telling me that as you were driving in, you drove by the location that song was about. Tell us about that.
Well, I mean, for me, I didn't write this song, but when I heard this song, what made me want to do it is what came to mind, which was the Santa Monica Pier. And so it was interesting you chose that song to play, because I thought, my goodness, I just drove in. That's what I saw when I came up, and then to hear that, and that's why I wanted to sing this, because that's what came to mind.
And who wrote that tune?
Lori McKenna.
Lori McKenna. Not Lorena McKenna, Lori McKenna. Okay. Do you know Lorena McKenna? Oh, wow. Okay. I'll have to turn you on to that artist before you leave. You got this brand new album out, Paper Airplane. You happy with it?
Yeah, well, we're satisfied with it. You know, you get to that point where you can put it away, and I'm grateful for deadlines, because I don't know when we would have handed it in, but we blew past a few deadlines, but I was glad there was another one.
Somebody once said that art was never done; you just have to walk away.
It's time to get a plate and sit down. Yeah, that's kind of what.
I'm going to have you work just a little closer to that mic, if you would, hon. Let's talk about the title track. Your album opens with the Paper Airplane. What drew you to this song?
Well, in the past few years, there's a guy named Robert Lee Castleman who's written a bunch of songs we've recorded through the years, and we had gotten to a point in this record that I felt like we had a number of good songs, but we didn't have an album yet. You know, it just wasn't it wasn't a complete piece of work, and so I called RL and I said, we need you, where are you? And he's like, I can't find it. He goes, I go to these places I used to be when I was brokenhearted, and I can't find it right now. He goes, just come over here and sit with me while I write and tell me what's going on with you. So I drove over there, and when I walked in the door, he goes, I have a melody. And he played it, and I was, oh, this is beautiful.
Yeah.
And so we talked for, I guess, about an hour and a half, and then we were kind of done. And he said, well, I'll just have to wait. I said, wait for what? He says, well, it should be here in about, by midnight. It'll be here. Wow. And he called me, and he goes, I got it. I said, what is it? He said, Paper Airplane. Oh. I said, oh, my goodness. Yeah, and so he sent it over, and it was, I loved it. It's, I don't think I've ever enjoyed singing a song as much as I've enjoyed this one.
Well, let's hear it. Title track from Paper Airplane, brand new music from Alison Krauss. It's a beautiful song, Paper Airplane, the title track from Alison Krauss's brand new album. You got a hell of a band. I mean, these boys could play.
Fantastic. They're wonderful.
Man, we're going to be talking about them. The band obviously is Union Station, and They've got quite the pedigree, and we're going to be talking about that and more with Alison Krauss in just a moment on KLOS. I'm Jim Ladd. We're back now on 95.5 KLOS Los Angeles. Before we continue, I want to congratulate Vivian and Mike Gaines, who got married yesterday on Catalina. I've never met Vivian and Mike Gaines. I have no idea who Vivian and Mike Gaines are, but my friend Michael Mosbach asked me to say that. So there you go. Hopefully the happy couple will be happy for many years to come. All right, now that we've done the wedding announcements, Alison, let's get back to the interview. Your music has been called, and I'm kind of afraid to say this because
watch it.
Yeah, okay. New grass. Do you like that term?
You know, I like what that term means, which is that it's. I know what newgrass has meant for me when I've heard the title, which is it's something different. You know, it's something new and it's moving on. And I have a great love for tradition, but it's a good thing if people have a hard time describing what you're doing.
Amen. Amen.
So I like that part of it. Yeah,
when I listen to you, it's not really derivative of other things, that's for sure. And this next song we're going to play, Lie Awake. This actually, for a bluegrass country lady, this has got a subtle little Mideastern influence in it, doesn't it?
Well, this is kind of a funny story. I was at a girlfriend's house around the corner, and there was a young lady there helping clean the house. And she walked by, and I thought, oh, my goodness, who is that? Because she just had something about her that was just magnetic. And my friend says, oh, she's like you. She sings. She does that stuff. And I said, really? I said, well, I'd love to hear what she does. And so, you live in a music town. You get CDs all the time. And she came over and gave me a CD. And she goes, well, here's my CD. And as she was walking out the door, I said, boy, I'm really looking forward to hearing that. She goes, well, I'm looking forward to hearing it too. And she walks out, and I thought, she doesn't care if I listen to this or not. I got to put this in. And I put it in the CD player, and she was amazing.
Wow.
Her name's Angel Snow. She's a beautiful singer and songwriter. And I'll get around to the story, but we were driving home from Indianapolis one time, and I heard a tune on the radio, and I loved it. And it was this chanty kind of tune, and the verse and the chorus, really the melody stayed the same, but what made the chorus was the harmony. And I called my brother, who is great at kind of, if you give him an idea, he'll run with it. And I said, there's a song I heard on the radio, and I explained what it was. I said, do you think you could write us something like that? And he says, well, yeah, I think I could do that. And so my brother Vic wrote the tune, and Angel wrote the lyrics for this. And I thought it was beautiful. And the guys, they liked it right away. So.
Well, I did. I just love that kind of, it's not over the top Middle Eastern, but it's there, and it gives a very interesting flavor to this song.
Well, we pulled out, there was a lead guitar part in there that's pretty constant throughout it, and we pulled that out. So it really opened up the track. We've kind of got the second guitar part that took over the lead, so it's a lot more open than it would have been.
Now, did Angel warm up after she heard the song?
Oh, she was always very nice, but I knew she's really got it going on. She's very warm, very sweet, and I can't wait to see what happens for her in years to come, because she's very special.
And what does this song say to you when you sing it?
Oh, well, this tune for me, I imagine myself in it's an old apartment, and I learned from her what it meant to her when she was writing it. But I take it as, your lover's asleep in the bed, and you're trying to escape, and you don't want him to wake up in many ways. You don't want him waking up back to the relationship to try to start it up again. You don't want him waking up at all. You're just trying to make your way out.
Do you know my wife?
Well.
Okay, this is called Lie Awake. It is a haunting piece called Lie Awake. It's from Alison Krauss's brand new album, Paper Airplane, and you were telling me while we were listening that visions of the 30s and the Depression and people living in that era came to you while you were singing this.
Well, kind of the whole time that we were recording, I love photographs from that era, and I looked at those the whole time, and you know, when you're in the studio and singing these tunes, it's really the most time you ever really get to spend with them. You know, you play shows later and you play them every night, and it might be you'll spend 3 minutes, 4 minutes with them, however long they are. But when you're in the studio and you're singing those vocals, if you didn't sing it live,
right,
you're going to have a little time with it, and it's it's such a romantic time because you really don't you don't have control over those thoughts. And the story can change from past to past, and the whole record for me during that time was all it was all that time period. All those stories happened then for me.
The creative process is just endlessly fascinating because we were talking also about you when you write a song. This gentleman you were talking about who wrote Paper Airplane, he said, I was looking for it. And you can't force it. You have to almost have it find you, don't you? Or he said, I can't find it, is what he said. I can't find it.
Yeah, and, he has that ability to borrow somebody else's story, which is a wonderful gift. But, yeah, I mean, you have people, what are you looking for? What are you looking to record? And I said, I can't tell you, Can't tell you till it gets here.
Yeah. It's almost like finding the right dog. That the dog finds you. You don't find the dog. Let's talk about sorry.
No, it's funny. I have a dog story. That's.
Oh, go ahead.
No, it's really not. It's really not that good. It's really not that good.
I can't imagine that you have an inappropriate story, Alison.
No, it's not inappropriate. It's that's a funny joke. We have a dog at the house that it would just funny.
Okay.
It finds you, yes.
Maybe you'll tell me when the mic's off.
Well, it's not that good.
All right. From the CD, oh, man. She's having a great time with this. I'm trying to figure out what is the joke here. Anyway, now this CD, now that I've found you, it's like a collection?
Yes, I see that up there. It's from years ago. I haven't heard it in a while. I'm getting afraid.
Uh-oh. Well, you covered a Bad Company tune.
Yes.
Are you a Bad Company fan in general, or did you just like this song?
Oh, Bad Company in general, all the way around, Paul Rodgers. I always think, when the singers, it's the same Ralph Stanley, who I grew up listening to. It's the same place, it's the same place that Paul Rodgers sings from.
Mm-hmm.
It's, hard living and passion, and they're both standing on top of a mountain somewhere, telling it how it is.
Looking south toward Atlanta.
And pointing, yes.
And pointing.
Yes.
All right. This is Alison Krauss's version of Bad Company's Oh, Atlanta. Hell yeah. Oh, Atlanta. Alison Krauss interpreting a Bad Company song. As an interpretive artist, tell me how you approach a song for the first time. First off, what are you looking for in a song?
Oh, if I'd have to say it, like you, until you get to say it, you're bothered by it. You know what I mean? And I guess it's the same. Because I don't really write. I can edit things, but I guess when people they get up in the middle of the night and they write lyrics down because they have to say it. I kind of have that kind of feeling about a tune somebody's written. If I have to say it, and until we get to say it, it's bothering me.
I see. And are you a person that endlessly edits, or can you get it in your head and then you sing it and it's fine, or are you like picking at yourself the whole time?
I probably do some picking.
Some picking, yeah. Yeah, it's annoying, isn't it?
Gets old, doesn't it? Yes.
Yeah. Because you're the worst. Usually artists are their worst critics. The great ones are seldom satisfied. with what they, you know, you never hear an artist, a really great artist go, you know, I really nailed that. They just don't do it. You know, they're just, I could have done this different or that different. It's just, yeah, it's the life. Let's talk about Lay My Burden Down. This is not really a happy-go-lucky little tune here. This is a very interesting song. And for me, it was a song about the release one might feel after this life is over. Do you believe in an afterlife?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah? And if you don't mind me asking, if it's not too personal, how do you envision that working out?
How do I envision the whole afterlife working?
Yeah, once you lay this mortal coil down, what's going to happen to us?
Oh, boy. You know, I have a pretty, I believe I have a pretty standard Christian belief. So, boy, you know, it's my hope. So, boy, for me to lay it out that easily, it's a hope of things being redeemed and made whole as they were supposed to be in the beginning. You know, it's beautiful, and it's a hope that if I didn't have that, I don't know where I'd be.
Yeah. Yeah. I've gone both ways. You know, a very, pretty solid belief, and then not believing, and back again. And so it's a very, it's the ultimate question. Obviously, nobody's going to know until we get there. But I've always hoped that if there was just some kind of justification for all this, if somebody, after we go, I can ask those questions like, why did good things happen to bad people, or why did little kids get sick? And somebody could explain that to me and say, no, Jim, it's all in the plan. It's all works out. It's all right. And if there is some kind of grace we can find at the end.
Yeah, it's a question I've had. People ask me the same thing, and I asked someone who I thought would know better than what I could come up with myself, and they said, those things happen because this is, if it's a fallen world, those things will happen. It wasn't intended to happen, when the world was made. But because it is fallen now, those things have happened. They weren't intended to happen.
And of course, it being a matriarchal, a religion, the woman got blamed for it. It's the woman's fault. I mean, right there in Genesis, and we all believe that it's Eve's fault. Guys had nothing to do with it.
I don't think people really think that.
You don't, Alison?
They look at it, I'll speak for they, I'll say me.
Okay.
It was both. I mean, because, when you get into, translations, and he was right there. Adam was right there.
Yeah, and the first thing he did was, it's her fault.
That's a good story there. Yeah. That's always a joke.
He didn't stand up. He didn't no, it was me. It was her fault. Yeah, I'm a wimp. All right. I didn't mean to make light of this, but it is the most fascinating question a human being can ask, is what happens when we die. And this is a song called Lay My Burden Down, Alison Krauss. Man, that's one of my favorite songs on the album. I really like that very, very much. It's called Lay My Burden Down. Alice, we're going to take a little break, and then we're going to come back and talk about this unknown singer that you gave some help to on this recent album that you did. That's coming up next on 95.5 KLOS. I'm Jim Ladd. We're back now with my very special guest, Alison Krauss. It's just a delight to meet you.
So nice to meet you, too.
And I understand that she does accents and impersonations, so later on we'll be getting into that.
That would be lovely.
Well, now, I said that we're going to talk about this kind of unknown, struggling artist that you were kind enough to give a hand to by the name of Robert Plant. And this album just went nuts for you guys, didn't it? Raising Sand.
It was a really nice surprise. We got together just to, just to kind of go in the studio and have a nice time and see what would happen. We said, let's give it 3 days, and if it doesn't work, it didn't work, and we'll see you later. No hard feelings. And and it lasted. And when it was finished, we thought, well, that was fun, and the reaction that people had to it was, really a great surprise.
Now, how did two artists from such divergent genres of music, how did you meet and decide to do this?
Well, Robert, he's always searching for the next thing to keep him up at night. Musically, he's always listening to different things, and whether it's Egyptian music or African music and bluegrass. My first conversation with him when I met him was about Ralph Stanley, and he's very much into experiencing the culture of whatever he's listening to. And he talked about listening to Ralph and driving through the Appalachian Mountains and having the windows open and my hair, And so he was getting very much into country and bluegrass, and someone told him about what we did, and he called and invited me to come to Cleveland and play at a Hall of Fame induction for Leadbelly. And Leadbelly has influenced bluegrass as well. And the song we did called "In the Pines." Well, we call it "In the Pines," and it's called "Black Girl" in kind of other circles. And so we sang together, and then I guess it was 2 years later or something. That's when he called about working together.
And it's interesting because his style, much more than yours, adapted to this album, I think. I mean, he, coming from his background with Zeppelin and the blues and rock and roll and kick-ass and all of that, he really brought it down into a whole different genre, didn't he? Yeah,
he's a really interesting, amazing guy. There's no mystery why he's made the mark on music history that he has. And he was fascinating to work with, and is such a passionate person for whatever you were listening to. He really couldn't get enough.
All right, let's listen to Gone, Gone, Gone. This is Alison Krauss and Robert Plant. Alison Krauss and Robert Plant and Gone, Gone, Gone from Raising Sand. You worked with the legendary T-Bone Burnett on this, didn't you? Tell us about that. He produced the album.
He did. When we were talking, Robert and I said, well, I don't want to produce it. He says, well, I don't want to produce it. And so, I mentioned T-Bone because I had worked with him for Oh Brother. And he, has such a love for traditional music. And as does Robert and myself. So he got involved and really was amazing on this record. He brought together some beautiful songs, and then from that list of things, Robert added a number that had been on his jukebox at home for decades, and Gone, Gone, Gone was one of them from his jukebox.
Wow.
But, T-Bone was amazing on this, and we cut that particular song in Santa Monica. And Robert sang it, into a 57, and right in the studio. And it's funny hearing it because that's his live vocal. He did a great vocal.
Now, did you were you both in the studio together? Did he lay down his tracks and then you would come in? How'd that work?
It was all mixed up. That particular one, he sang. He just sang that one, and because I didn't know what he was going to do yet. But some of the other ones we sang together. Yeah, we sang together.
And was there any huge, giant fights where people were throwing things against the walls because you wanted to do the song and he didn't, and suddenly the thing blows up? And
there was there wasn't any of that. Robert is very positive and up, and everybody lights up when he comes in, and this was really we needed to put kind of our personalities aside, so we had something very new. It had a new thing, and that was really T-Bone. We wanted to go by his gut reactions and not ours.
It must be fun to be able to have the license to step out and say, okay, you don't have to do the traditional thing that people think is Alison Krauss. You don't have to do that right now. Just go have fun with this new thing, and it'll be fine.
It was a nice experience. It was nice. That sounds terrible. It was a lot of fun. And getting to know Robert and that kind of that kind of spirit. I don't know if I've ever met another one like him. You know, he's great. It's been a great friendship.
Well, again, it was nice that you helped his fledgling career. That was really cool of you, Alison.
He needed a lot of help.
Now, there's another song on here I want to play on Raising Sand that you sing by yourself, and it's a really interesting choice because having you sing this song about losing a woman, you'd think Robert would be singing this song, but it's you. And I've heard other people, I heard Linda Ronstadt do this a couple of times, so she'll take a song and all you had to do is transpose he to she or she to he or whatever, but you don't. Tell me about why you did this way. It's called Let Your Loss Be Your Lesson.
Yeah, I didn't want to mess with the integrity of the song, you know, by changing it, and sometimes it seems too obvious. And it was really, I think of it as I'm repeating what someone has said.
I see.
Yeah, so I thought of it, I'm just repeating a kind of somebody's one-sided conversation. They told me their story, and I'm repeating it to somebody. That's how I saw it, and changing it to he, it wasn't, I was telling somebody else's story.
Right.
You know, it was more truthful that way.
This is called Let Your Loss Be Your Lesson from Raising Sand. Alison Krauss, my guest tonight on KLOS. Yeah, there's a song I've, man, let your loss be your lesson. Yeah, learning that lesson is always a lot of fun. Great tune, though. Thanks a lot, Alison.
It's a joy.
Oops. Huh?
It's a joy.
Yeah, it's a joy. Yeah, thank you. Hey, thanks, God. Life is just great down here. We really appreciate it. And thank you for letting me make the same mistakes over and over again. That's a great one, too. I don't know. Are there any other artists that you've ever thought about working with that you'd like to work with in a situation like this with Robert Plant?
Oh, boy. I've been so lucky with folks I've got to play with, and boy, how much time have you got?
Yeah, the list is endless, huh?
It's been a fascinating experience. I didn't think I'd be doing this for a living. I was going to be a choir teacher. That was my plan. So this has been all a surprise, and singing with people. I know how much of my own life I feel like I learn about when I'm playing music and searching for music and enjoying music, and getting to spend that kind of time with somebody else, like when you go sing harmony for somebody, or get to spend as much time as I did with Robert in the studio. You get a real window into somebody else. It's fascinating.
Why is singing harmony so much fun?
It's almost you're trying to match somebody. You try to match their phrasing and add to them. That's probably the part I like most, is to think that you might add to what they're doing, and it becomes something else when two of you sing together that you don't have separately. It sounds kind of silly, but I love the process of it gets real close to somebody, how they communicate that way, and that's it's pretty romantic kind of to try to match somebody. It's pretty sweet. It would be
kind of a personal, intimate thing to do with another person, to try to match that thing on a creative level. All right, let's talk about Miles to Go from the new album. This one was written by your bass player.
Yeah.
And we haven't talked much about Union Station yet, so let's use this as a jumping off point to tell me about this extraordinary band. These guys, you got some players in this band.
Yeah, it's weird. We all met the same day, which is funny, and we all didn't end up in the band at the same time, but we met in Nashville at a festival. I was 14, and I met everybody the same day.
Wow.
Yes, so it's interesting that we've all ended up in the same place. But Jerry Douglas plays the dobro, who is, one of the best musicians I could possibly imagine in any form of music. He lifts everybody, and he has such an identity, which I think that's what everybody's got within this band, and everybody, grew up on different things, but everybody was moved by the same type of thing. Nobody was into anything flashy. Everybody was into, a real, music below the neck, And so, but Dan Tyminski, who was the singing voice for George Clooney for Oh Brother, people recognize Dan from that, who I think is the finest bluegrass singer to come out of this form of music, and I can't even tell you how long. But he really brought a real hope when he showed up. And Ron Block, who's written so many tunes we've recorded through the years, he has an amazing style of banjo playing that people try to emulate but never can quite get.
Yeah.
And Barry, he's just started on this new path of writing, which is, as long as I've known him, he's always been very talented, and he's been in writing, on a piece of paper and letters and things like that, and he just started songwriting. So this is an exciting thing to see him doing. And we've played together, Barry and I, for 21 years, and tonight is Dan and the band's 20th year anniversary.
Is that right?
Yeah, so it's kind of fun tonight to hear that.
Well, let me play this one written by Barry, and then we're gonna hear this song, and then we're gonna take a break. And when we come back, we're gonna talk a bit about Dan and Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, and all of that. Alison Krauss, my guest tonight. This is from her new album, Paper Airplane, a song called Miles to Go. Man, it's a great song. I'm talking to Alison here about some song ends. We got to stop here for a moment, but when we come back, I'm going to play a song from your new album that Dan, it's Tyminski, right?
Yeah.
This guy, his voice is so recognizable and so different, but it's different, yet it seems like a voice I've heard all my life. Because it's so authentic, I think is what it is.
Sounds old.
It sounds old.
From
There you go. That's right. It's like, John Fogerty's got that kind of voice. He could be singing a rock and roll tune in 2011, or he could be singing around a campfire in 1860. He's just got that voice. And Dan Tyminski has that kind of voice, too. We're going to play a song called Dust Bowl Children. You recognize this voice from Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? He sang, I Am the Man of Constant Sorrow. Anyway, when we continue with Alison Krauss on KLOS. I'm Jim Ladd. I'm back now with Alison Krauss, and I've kept Alison a lot longer than she promised to be here. I'm sorry.
No.
You okay?
Absolutely.
Okay, I know it's been a long day, but I would really be remiss if we didn't talk about Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? And we're going to get into it with a song that's actually not on the album. It's on your new album called Dust Bowl Children, but Dan Tyminski, who did I Am a Man of Constant Sorrow, from the soundtrack, is going to sing this. My first question is, this is awfully generous to give up not one but two songs on this album. That's a lot of real estate to say, hey, Dan, why don't you sing one?
Oh, no, we've always done this, and we've got three. There's the third one on there that Dan sings is a fantastic song. But we would have had more, but we that's what we ended up with when we had to get our plate and sit down.
Alison, get your plate and your silverware and sit down now.
Yeah.
You're done singing. And why this song? How did he or you choose to do this song?
This is a tune written by Peter Rowan, who is he's a fantastic singer and songwriter, and he sang for Bill Monroe. He was with the Flying Burrito Brothers. I mean, it's like he's been all over the place, and he's just respected in so many areas. And for Dan, he always makes a joke when he says, "Okay, what am I going to be? Am I going to be a farmer or a soldier this time?" Because he says, everything you want me to sing, I'm a farmer or a soldier. And Dan, he's got such a passionate voice. It really takes you someplace when he's singing against the elements. That guy who's willing to shout into the sky. I think he's got a voice like that, a passion like that. And if it's something less than that, it makes him over singing or makes the song, trite. Mm-hmm. So this is the epitome of that. I see him. I see him. It's very real when I hear him sing like this.
It's a great way to describe this guy, because that's exactly what it's like when I hear him sing. Dan Tyminski doing Dust Bowl Children new on KLOS. old is Dan 𝕒𝕤𝕕𝕚? Do you know?
Yes, he's 44.
Yeah, but you know, if I met him, the first thing, even though he's 44, the first thing I would have to ask him is, so what was Woody Guthrie like?
Yeah,
it's like he's got to know him, right?
Yeah, it's great. I think he's ageless. You know, when I hear this, the voice is old from times past, but you don't know how. I can't tell how old he is.
Yeah, damn it, he's such authority. Well, as we said, he was the one that did, I Am a Man of Constant Sorrow, which everybody knows from the movie O Brother, Where Art Thou. Let's talk about your involvement with that movie. How did they approach you to do that, the songs that you did on O Brother, Where Art Thou?
Boy, T-Bone did the soundtrack for that. And he was, there were so many people involved in that who played on it. And I know they approached Dan about being the singing voice for George. But, they talked to the band about being involved. And, I think that the respect that T-Bone had for the musicians and how they play naturally, and he really kept his hands off of it, and his fingerprints were all over it because he kept his hands off of it. It was really an amazing time for a music that's, kind of been underground for so long.
Yeah.
We were really lucky. When I say we, people who've grown up playing this music, that was the music featured in that movie, and it was respected so beautifully. I mean, it was really an amazing thing for everybody, what it did.
It was amazing how that movie was embraced by the American people, because I think that, it was too quirky, you would think, for your parents who lived through it, but yet they loved it. And then younger people who had no idea about Depression era anything, they found something in it, and everybody found something in that movie that they loved, I mean, I've watched that movie 4 or 5 times. I just love it. And when George Clooney steps up to that mic in that little radio station, and he's lip syncing, but he nails that part. He just looks like the guy singing that, so well. What is the history to the song "Down to the River to Pray"?
Well, it's originally called "Down in the Valley to Pray."
Mm-hmm.
And because of the scene in the movie, they changed it to "Down to the River," and it's just an old like, I guess it'd be folk song, like folk song, but like, I don't think there's even a writer credit on it anywhere. I heard it from Doc Watson.
Mm.
He sang it, and it was always done a cappella like that.
Well, let's listen to it, because I'll tell you what, this is a haunting version that you gave to this movie, and it's a very memorable scene where they come upon the sirens, and the song is playing. "Down to the River to Pray," Alison Krauss, from the soundtrack to "O Brother, Where Art Thou?"
Good old way, and who shall wear the robe and crown? Good Lord, show me the way.
It just doesn't get any better than that. It just doesn't. To be able to sing a song like that a cappella, man. Did you know what the scene was going to be when you sang that song?
Yeah, they would show the movie in there.
Oh.
And show us what was going on at the time. Yeah, so I got to see the scene before I sang it.
Oh, cool. And were you surprised at the reaction to not only the movie but the music, and how much people loved it?
Yeah, it's funny because I've always thought, if this music got out there, people would be crazy about it, bluegrass music in general. And the cast, when I mean the cast, the people who sang on that record that they had in it, everybody from Norman Blake to the Cox family, and of course Dan, and I thought, people would go crazy over it. So in some ways I wasn't surprised, but then it was just too good to be true. That it happened.
Yeah.
It was just great.
Well, thank God it wasn't like some little independent film that got overlooked, and because that was deserved every compliment that film could find, and the music too. Well, all right, I know that you've got to go because there's something more important happening. You're on Jay Leno. Excuse me. And thank you for, doing the Tonight Show and then being on here first. That was very sweet of you.
Thank you for having me.
That's very nice. Yeah, eat my dust, Jay Leno. She's here live right now. Is he a nice guy? I've never met Jay Leno.
Very nice. Good.
He seems like he would be. Yeah, I like him a lot. I've never met him, but I mean, I like his work. Let's talk about the last track on your new album, Paper Airplane. By the way, damn, I haven't even mentioned this. I'm sorry. I was so enamored by meeting Alison Krauss, I forgot to tell you she's actually going to play a concert in town at the Greek Theater June 23rd. Michael's in the other room going, push the show. Get the tickets going on. Thank you, Michael. Really appreciate that. For God's sake, man, we have to make a buck. Okay, I was just talking to her about art. I didn't know. The Greek Theater, June 23rd. Now then, the last song on the album was written by another, little known songwriter that you gave a hand to by doing one of his tunes, Jackson Browne, who's been known to pen a song or two. Do you know him well, or did you never met him?
I've been in the same room and briefly said hello, but that was years ago.
Let me tell you something. There's the next time you're in the same room with this guy, that's somebody worth having a conversation with.
Oh, yeah, I imagine.
Yeah, he's a very, very nice man and good sense of humor, and puts up with me on occasion, comes into the show and puts up with me, and obviously one of the great songwriters of all time. And you chose Opening Farewell. Why this song?
Boy, I've loved that song for so long. I would listen to it on, Michael Johnson, Bluer Than Blue. Remember Michael? And I got all of his records years ago because his nephew was our engineer for the past 20 years, and so he made me a big CD collection of all this stuff. And Opening Farewell was on there, and I'd listen to it, and then, I always loved it and wanted to do it at some point, and but it wasn't ready to be done with us yet. So when we brought it out for this, everybody jumped on it. I love the story in it.
Yeah.
I love it's a continuation of Paper Airplane and Dimming of the Day, and I think the subject matter is right on time for the rest of it.
Amen. Well, this album is right on time. I'll tell you, it's wonderful. Alison Krauss and Union Station. The album is Paper Airplane. Again, she'll be at the Greek Theater June 23rd. I so enjoyed meeting you.
Me too. You've been very generous.
No, it was my
Thank
pleasure,
you so much.
and what a breath of fresh air to have you in here with all this lovely music, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Yeah, maybe you'll win a Grammy someday. What's it up to now, by the way? Come on. Oh, listen, she's shy. That's so nice. She's modest. All right, Alison Krauss on KLOS.